Okay, okay.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, we are from group 10. We would like to begin our presentation today. So before I start my presentation, I would like to introduce my team first. There is Fadia Rosa and Muhammad Naufal Al-Farisi. Okay, to begin our first presentation, I would like to give Naufal Al-Farisi time to present their slide.
Okay. The definition of contextual teaching and learning, or CTL, the word contextual comes from the word context, which means relationship, context, atmosphere, and circumstance. Context, KUBI 2002, 590. Contextual teaching and learning is a learning approach that emphasizes the process of full student to be able to find the material being studied and relate it to real life situation, so as to encourage students to be able to apply in their life. Next, from that concept, there are three things we must understand. The first is contextual teaching and learning emphasize the process of student involvement to find material. So in contextual teaching and learning, teacher just uh, help students to get material, and students find find material by them. And the second, contextual teaching and learning student to find relationship between the material being studied and real life situation. In this, uh, the the teacher to relate the material being taught to the student with real world situation, and encourage students to make connection between their knowledge and their and uh, and real life situation. And the third, contextual teaching and learning encourage students to be able to apply it to life. So after they have connection between their knowledge and real life situation. So with this contextual teaching and learning, uh, the students can be apply what they get to realize their daily life. Next. Next is characteristics of contextual teaching and learning. The first is learning as a process of activating static knowledge. And the second is teaching and learning is in order to acquire and add new knowledge or acquiring knowledge. The third, understanding knowledge, meaning that the knowledge obtained is not to be memorized but to be understood and believed. Uh, understanding knowledge, completing temporary concept or hypothesis, sharing with others in order to get feedback or validation, and on the basis of this, the concept is revised and developed. And for get knowledge and experience into practice, applying knowledge. The fifth is reflects on the knowledge development strategy. This is done as a feedback for the process of improvement and refinement of the strategy. The sixth, collaborating. Collaborating to help students work effectively in groups. Next. Next is contextual teaching and learning. This is a component of contextual teaching and learning. In teaching and learning, there have a main component. Have six main component. The first is constructivism. Constructivism is the process of building or conveying new knowledge in students' cognitive structure based on experience. Constructivism is the training students' minds to learn better by working alone. Construct on knowledge and skill. This is the basis of learning thinking for the approach. Real knowledge for him is something that is built or discovered by the student itself. Then the second is inquiry. The learning process is based on achievement and discovery through a systematic thinking process. Inquiry is a learning process based on the search for discovery through a systematic thinking process. The process of transferring from observation to understanding. Students learn with critical thinking skill. In this case, the teacher must plan a situation so that students learn with procedure for recognizing problem, answering question, using research, preparing thinking frameworks, hypotheses, explanation that are relevant to experience in the real world. The third is questioning. Asking can be seen as a reflection of the curiosity of each student. Questioning is develop student to curiosity with interactive dialogue by all involved in the learning community. This uh, with question, students are encouraged to always reject an opinion, idea, or theory in good way. And the fourth is learning. So guess the learning outcomes are obtained through collaboration with others. Learning community is from collaborating with others. This learning is only carried out in group whose members are heterogeneous. Students who are teaching the weak, those who already know tell those who don't know. In practice, small groups are formed blood groups, bring experts to class, collaborate with parallel classes, work in group with seniors, and collaborate with the community. And the fifth is modeling. The learning process by demonstrating something as an example that can be imitated by every student. In learning, there is need to be model can be imitated by students. Related to this, the model can be in the form of how to operate, how to throw or kick a ball in sport, how to pronounce it in a foreign language, or a teacher give example of how to do something. When the teacher is able to do, the student will think the same, that he can do it too. And next, the sixth, next slide. The sixth is reflection, a way of just learning or thinking backward about what has been done in the past. Reflection is an effort to see, organize, analyze, clarify, and evaluate the things that have been learned. To make this happen, the class is designed at the end of each lesson. The teacher takes the time to provide opportunities for the students to reflect by a direct statement from the student about what they have learned after learning. And the second and last is before the last authentic assessment. the process carried out by the teacher to collect information about the learning process made by students. To measure learning outcome apart from tests, it must also be measured with authentic assessment, which can provide true and accurate information about what students really know and do, or about the quality of educational program. Authentic assessment in the process of collecting various data to describe student learning progress. The data are in the form of written test, result, project, student work performance, which are summarized in student portfolio. Then next, by Fadia.
Okay, thank you, Nova Alvarisis. I would like to continue the next slide for syntax, contextual teaching and learning, or CTL. So from this slide, we have 7 points to describe this syntax contextual teaching and learning, or CTL. Broadly speaking, the steps for implementing CTL in the classroom are as follows. The first is develop the ideas that children will learn more meaningfully by working alone, discovering themselves, and also constructing their own new knowledge and skill. And the second is carry out as far as possible inquiry activities for all topics, so that in the classroom, the children not only just listen about the teachers explain, but they can doing some activities that can improve their brain. And the third point is create a learning community or learn in groups. With learn in groups, the children can be more easily to catch the knowledge, because they can being a communication with their friends, and also they can take some new knowledge from their friends. And the 5th point is present the model as an example of learning. And the 6th is reflect at the end of the meeting. It means that at the end of the meeting, teacher must have to give some review or some resume that about the knowledge that has already given all day. And the last is do the actual assessment in various ways. It means that what the statement that teachers give to the students, it has a same with the knowledge they already given before. The next slide is differences between contextual approach and traditional approach. We learn about the contextual approach first. So contextual approach, it means that relying on understanding meaning. And the second is selection of information based on student need. It means that not all the information that students have to get, but just only what they have to learn on their age. And the third is students are actively involved in the learning process. And the fourth point is learning is associated with real life or simulated problems. It means that the teacher has to give knowledge that the students can need or can know in their life, in their real life. And the next is always related information to the knowledge that a student already have. The teacher must know, the teacher must have the knowledge that the student is already have before. So the student can accept easily and get understanding with the new knowledge, and the student can compare with the past knowledge that the student have. And next is tends to integrate several fields. And the last is students use their study time to find, explore, discuss, think critically, or work on project and problem solving through group work, like what I said before. With this type of contextual approach type, it means that the teacher must give the student such as the group works, so that they can make some projects together, so and solving the problems together. And the next is traditional approach. What is traditional approach? Traditional approach is relying on memorization. It means that traditional approach is the study that just only memorize. The student just memorize the knowledge, the everything, just memorizing. And the next is the selection of information is more determined by the teacher. It means that the student cannot study in their own. It means that they just study what the teachers given. So they cannot study in inside of the class. And the next is students passively receive information, especially from the teacher. It means that the student just listened, but they cannot, like some give what they want. They just listen and accept the input from the teachers. And the next is learning is very abstract and theoretical, does not rely on the realities of life. Like what I said before, this type is just using old method. It means that just stay in the class and then the student just keep calm and listening the teachers saying what the saying about the knowledge. And then the next, it provides piles of information to student until the time is needed. And the next is student learning time is mostly used to work and assessment books, listen to the lecture and fill out the exercise or individual work. They cannot give about, they just listen about the rules. They cannot studying what they want. They just like this slide explain, work and assessment books. They just follows what they have, what the books have. They just follow it. They just finish it, the assessment just on the book. So it means that the input from the outside is so lower. So the next slide is about the strengths and weakness of contextual teaching and learning. We talk about the advantage first. So the advantage of the CTL learning model is, the first is provide opportunities for students to be able to move forward in a coordinate with the potential of the students, so that the students are actively involved in PBM. It means that in study. This point is talking about the teachers is searching for the models that can related for the students, so the students not feel bored about this, about the study, about the situation of the class that the teachers have. And the next is student can think critically and creatively in collecting data, understanding an issue and solving problems, and teachers can be more creative. And the next is make students aware of what they are learning. It's very important because the teachers doesn't just give the knowledge and the student just remembering, but it's not. The teacher, the student must understand what the knowledge means, not just remembering or not just know, but understanding the meaning. And the next is the selection of information based on student needs is not determined by the teacher. It means that what they have, what the student want to know, what the student want to know, it means that the teachers have to give it. It means that the knowledge that the student want to know, the teachers must have to include it like that. So the next is learning is more fun and less boring, and help students work effectively in groups, and also a good cooperative attitude from between individuals and groups. So in CTL learning model, it means that the student not only studying by herself or themselves, but they are also studying with a group. So, and then the next is weakness of the CTL learning model. So what is the weakness CTL learning model? The first is in the selection of information or materials in class is based on the needs of student, even though in that case, the level of ability of the students is different, so that the teacher will have difficulty in determining the subject matter because the level of achievement of the student is not the same. And the next is inefficient because it takes a long time in study, because the teacher have to understand one by one of the students, so the teachers can give the model of the study. It's perfect to teach the student is like that. So that is all of. So the next is yeah, the last screen, and it's all of me and our groups. So thank you very much for listening, and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.